It is a big, big day. I've been up since very early this morning listening to Taylor Swift's The Life of a Showgirl, the 12th album by, I think it's fair to say, the biggest pop star on earth. Usually you would say it's a rare occurrence that the world stops for an album, but she's released about 70 albums in the past couple years and the world continues to stop for it, and they really have for The Life of a Showgirl. Jono is with me to talk about the record. Jono hasn't really stopped for The Life of a Showgirl. You were too busy stopping for another Showgirl.
Exactly. I'm incredibly fucking hungover because I went to Mayhem Ball last night, which was the life of the showgirl. She was so good, our Gargs.
Oh,
Um,
she is a
yeah,
showgirl.
obsessed.
Gaga.
Yeah,
I
but
still haven't seen the Mayhem tour, but I'm hoping to see it in Milan next month. I've seen the
humble brag
Coachella
about
show.
Europe again.
I just wanted to see her like really embracing her roots in Italy, obviously. I'm sure she'll bring out Ariana Grande, and I'm trying to think of another Italian pop star that I can't think of. BB Rex
Literally,
is Albanian.
I
No,
can't think of
I've got
one.
no others. Maybe Taylor has some Italian in her blood. But anyway, I just give us like two sentences on Gaga and then we'll move on to today's showgirl.
I mean, she's just a superstar. It was incredible. I was so nervous, as I told you before. I drank 2 bottles of wine because I had to calm my nerves. Um, but the little monsters, we like made friends with people around us. It was just such a vibe. The show obviously was like really similar to what you saw at Coachella, and I'm really glad because it was
But
like,
she does a little more, yeah. Like you
yeah,
got
she does
Just
more.
Dance.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
she
And
did
she finishes with
Speechless.
How Bad Do You Want Me?
She finished with How Bad Do You Want Me, and then a surprise song. Ours was Telephone, which
Oh, fun.
I was like happy with. But she did
Did you
Speechless
get
on
an
the piano.
acoustic
Yeah,
number?
Speechless and
Oh,
Hair.
fuck off.
But Speechless,
And
I was
hair.
literally and Hair. Yeah,
Wow, that's really good.
Speechless was crazy. Anyway, I'll talk about it too much, so let's move to a different.
It's giving me flashbacks to when I Forgot You Existed and Sweet Nothings as my surprise songs to Taylor Swift.
Well, I got so drunk at Taylor Swift as a running theme that I didn't remember the surprise songs in the morning, and I was like, "What were they?"
It was me.
To be honest, I love me on the piano. Anyway, Life of the Showgirl, what do we think?
Before we get into it, follow or subscribe to this podcast. If you like what you hear, you can also rate us 5 stars if you're feeling generous. I also have a full reaction of this album up on YouTube. Jono and I have been avoiding each other's thoughts on this podcast so we can give you an exclusive of our opinions on this record.
All that time I sat alone in my tower, you were just honing your powers. Now I can see it all. They wanna dug me out of my grave and save my heart from the fate of Ophelia.
Obviously, when I did my reaction, that was the first time I've heard it. I've heard it several times since now. How many times have you listened to it?
I've listened to it twice. Wait, so how many
Okay.
times total have you listened?
I've probably gone through 3 times now.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
in that, probably twice from start to finish. And then I've jumped around to a few of the songs to listen to them in various different orders. But let's start off on a positive note. Tell me about maybe the track that stood out to you the most when you first listened to it.
Wood stood out the
All right,
most.
moving on.
Wood definitely stood out the most because it was more varied, and obviously the lyrics were absolutely bonkers. Um, but
Crazy.
I loved her in that pocket of the, I don't know, funky, disco-y vibes. Um, so that definitely stood out. Also, on the second listen, The Fate of Ophelia stood out. But my
Mm-hmm.
favourites on the first listen were Wishlist, Wood, and Opalite. Opalite? Opalite?
Opalite, yeah.
Oh,
I
polite.
also had to check that, so I'm
Yeah,
not.
I don't know.
I'm no better than you. That's exactly. They're exactly the same ones that stood out to me.
Oh,
This never
great. How
happens to us.
boring.
I know. Honey also stood out to me. Also, when Sabrina Carpenter comes in the life of a showgirl, she sounds incredible. And it
She
just made me
steals
want to
it.
listen to Man's Best Friend.
Yeah,
She
same.
sounds so good.
She really steals the song. And I don't know if I'm making this up, but it feels like they add in like a Sabrina guitar where it's like that country twang or something when she comes
Right.
in.
I
Like,
actually heard Sabrina vibes on a couple of the songs, and I
yeah,
thought that was kind of interesting that like the student becomes the teacher in some way.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but yes, I thought The Fate of Ophelia the first time I heard it, I was like, oh, interesting choice for first single. And then the second and third times, I was like, oh, that chorus actually really does hit. And it's the song that has probably stuck in my mind. Opalite is like a personal favorite. I think the vibes of it are just really like up my alley. And I think they really, really nail that sticky melodic chorus on it. And then Wood, I was like, well, here's what I wanted. Like, I wanted something that feels a little dorky, a little daggy, but like goes to a silly place with the lyrics. I
yeah.
can hear the Max Martin on that. I can hear that they were having fun in the studio. And honestly, I feel like they should have bumped that up the track list and put it second because the first 5, 6 tracks even like give a very different vibe to what the end of the album does. And the end of the album to me feels more like Max and Taylor coded. And I keep forgetting Shellback as well, but
Yeah,
Shellback
I
obviously
know.
involved in all of this too. Yeah, it's interesting. The album gets off to a slow start, and Elizabeth Taylor in second to me is a very odd choice. I
Oh,
don't know
I
if
don't
you
agree
felt the
with that. I
same.
think Elizabeth Taylor second makes sense.
It
Um,
just feels slow and like sludgy to me to be so high up
okay.
the album.
Yeah. But yeah, with Wood, it's so camp. That's why I like it. Exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
It's fun and silly and camp, and she leans into it. It's probably the most maximalist song. Everything else is quite minimal. Minimalist
Mm.
Martin and Shellback rather than.
Max Martin, known for his minimalist production,
Yeah.
known for stripping it all back. Yeah, I think as soon as I clicked play on The Fate of Ophelia, I was like, this is not the Max
Same.
Martin I've come to know.
Same. I totally agree.
Which I obviously like in some kind of way, but I also think, you know what, I'm not going to say this now because we're going to get into it
Yeah.
later. But the Max Martinisms of 1989 are not very present on here, other than a couple tracks. I think like more of the trappy songs like Cancelled and maybe even Wishlist, it comes through a little bit on as
Yeah.
well. Um, yeah, but it's surprising that there's certainly not a style or blank space or like even Endgame kind of vibe going on here
Yeah.
at all. Do you think that I think the hit potential on here is a lot higher than what Fortnite gave off Tortured Poets, but I'm interested if you think there's a song that really stands out as having like real like anti-hero success
No,
possibilities.
not at all. But I don't think it needs to. Like, I genuinely think it's actually works
Mm.
quite well having no single and just release this as an album. If there was a single, I think people would have then been disappointed, as I don't think there's one that's sticky enough to do. I mean, I didn't love Antihero either, to be honest, so I don't know.
No, I didn't until like 6 months in, and then it clicked, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good."
So you
So,
got bullied into it because everyone was
yeah,
like,
so
why
yeah,
don't you
maybe
like
that's
it?
it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe The Fate of Ophelia is the right choice for the single. I do think that Weird would have been a really funny lead single to come out before the album.
Because then
Like
it wouldn't
I
have
would have.
heard that at all on the rest of the album.
Yeah, exactly. Just a total red herring. And then everybody would have bitched about it for weeks because it is like the daggiest song on the album. Also, I feel like Father Figure, I was waiting for that sample to really crack in and it doesn't at all.
No.
There's barely a breath of George Michael on this song.
Did you see? There was like a tweet that went viral where someone was like, "Is this a song that George Michael has recorded with Taylor, or is it a sample?" And someone was like, "Yeah, he recorded it from Beyond the Grave."
He doesn't come back for much, but he does come back for Taylor.
Honestly,
Well,
it really
Mariah
got
Carey was
me.
saying that she has a Michael Jackson song that she wanted to include on her last album.
That is true.
Um, and they didn't clear. I was going to say he didn't clear it. The estate did not clear it. Yeah. Anyway, not much George Michael on here, but a lot of Michael Jackson on here actually on Wood. Okay, so how do you think the album works as in terms of the run of it? Are you happy with the track list?
Yeah, I actually am. I think 12 songs is perfect length. I don't want a fucking another double album of 4 hours and a half.
Oh, what a relief.
Um, I think 12 to 16 songs for me is a perfect pop album length, and so the 12 works really well. I think Fade with Philly works really well as an opener, and The Life of Showgirl with Sabrina works really well as a closer. And I think Wood comes in at a good time because it does mix it up a bit, whereas at ninth. Um,
Yeah.
and I think Honey's actually Honey could go earlier to be fair, but
Yeah, I kind of like Honey there. I feel like
yeah,
it's a sweet moment, like once she's dealt with some of the knottier things that she's dealing with.
true. What do you think
Um,
about the track list and how it
I think that it
sits?
works. I think generally it works quite well. In terms of the songs that she's given us, I think that the flow is quite good. Elizabeth Taylor, obviously, I think could go a little later, but apart from that, it works. I also think like track 5 is also always like a real like heart wrencher for her, and it's interesting now that she's like happy, engaged, that it's the real love song on the album. I feel like, and is actually a song that works pretty well for me as
Yeah,
well. Um, moving into the tracks that we didn't like so much, and this is an issue I have with the track list as well because this just totally sends the album off the tracks for me, is actually Romantic. Like, I was really getting into a vibe until that song hit, and then I was like, I have to stop and like have a moment because this song's got me so annoyed, and it's pointed out so many issues that I have with her songwriting that she just fails to fix over and over again. Like the juvenile reducing everything to like something that could happen in the high school playground. I am so sick of. Like, get rid of it. She's been doing it for so many albums now. And it's like, stop it. It's so annoying. And
oh
like,
my god, I feel the opposite. I feel like it's kind of comforting. I don't mind it.
in this song, you find it comforting.
I have views about this song that's probably going to be different to yours because it sounds like you don't like this song at all.
But I think this song is a 1 out of 10. I think it's the worst song she's actually. I think this and Cancelled are the worst songs she's ever
Cancelled
released.
is the worst song. I don't want to listen to that again, probably. That's the only one on the album that's a clunker for me. I don't
I
mind
can't believe that
actually
you're into this.
romantic. Okay, I think my perspective on it is because I read the Guardian review where they were like, I feel like she's punching down on Charlie, who it's obviously written to
Mhm.
be about, which seems pretty clear. I don't think it is punching down because, firstly, Charlie probably has more cultural capital than Taylor at the moment in the pop world, obviously not like
Yeah.
generally. And
Yeah.
also, Taylor's allowed to sing about whatever she wants, I think. I think it's not fair to say that Taylor can't complain about someone in a song. Like she always says that her songs are like her diary. And I feel like that's quite constricting to
Hmm.
say that it's not fair for her to comment on someone. She's not penning an open letter saying Charlie's a bitch. Like it's song lyrics that people are interpreting.
I would love
Um
that if the first page
I
of the
know.
CD booklet is just like, you're a bitch,
I
Charlie
know.
XCX.
I know. But also I'm keen to get your thoughts. I feel like people online are saying this is about Sympathy as a Knife, the song. And I don't think it's about that song at all. I think she's saying in the song, Charlie's talking absolute shit about me to all of my friends and my ex's friends and
Hmm.
coming across like she's just not doing it like that. I think she's saying she's talking shit about me. Why you're so obsessed with me, a la Mariah Carey.
Yeah. I agree with all of that. I like, I think that if you're going to throw anything out into the universe, like it's going to come back to you in some way. And I think that Charlie understood that, obviously. Um, my issue is more with the actual sympathy as a knife of it all. Because she said she sings at one point on Naturally Romantic, wrote me a song saying it makes you sick to see my face. And I'm like, that
Yeah,
is
that's
just
wrong.
so annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even rude. I'm sure Charlie's not sitting there today, like, in tears about this song. And I don't think this is going to ignite some kind of pop beef. And I don't think it's
No.
either of their intentions to do so. The thing that I find so annoying about this song is like Charlie made this really nuanced pop song that gave us a really like transparent view into how it feels like to be a pop star who is not seen as being overly successful and always having to compare yourselves to others who are overly successful. And at this time in Charlie's career when she's doing Crash and not seeing the mainstream success that perhaps like was expected or was played with on that record, she finds herself face to face with Taylor purely because of their romantic situations. And
Yeah.
like, I just feel like she nailed that explanation of it. And then we come to The Life of a Showgirl, which is an album which promises to give us a peek behind the curtain of the Eras tour and does absolutely no such thing. And then, on her opportunity to actually address something that was going on at that point, she reduces it to this absolutely disgusting first line, like terrible first line. The writing is so bad.
What is the first line? I
And
can't
in,
remember.
I heard you call me boring Barbie when the Cokes got you brave. Like, it's just so. Having
Yeah.
spent the week watching Cardi B and Nicki Minaj go back and forth
Oh.
on Twitter, I'm like, this is some Nicki Minaj ass shit to put this out into the universe. And I don't even care. Like, put a Charlie XCX diss on your album if she's really upset you. But get like into the naughtiness of it. Like, stop reducing everything to this like I'm being made the victim, like there's a villain, like which is a similar thing that happens on Cancelled where like everything's reduced to being so black and white. And I'm like, it's not black and white. Give us something with some depth and actually address this situation. Because this song with that line about getting wet or whatever, I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? I had to honestly do a full factory reset after this song to get back into the album because it upset me so much. And it's not even coming from a like, obviously I'm a Charlie fan, but whatever. Rip Charlie to shreds. I couldn't care less. But do it with some actual like nuance is like the word that I just keep coming back to.
Yeah. I think that's definitely, I completely agree with you about Charlie's song was a masterclass in pop writing. It was really
Yeah.
vulnerable because it she told the story of how she was feeling in an excellent, it was just excellently written way. I
Yeah.
completely agree. But I do feel like this is Taylor saying, I you're talking so much shit about me and then come out with a song saying I'm jealous of me when you've
Yeah.
just been talking shit to everyone. I think that's what she's saying is like maybe that it isn't so nuanced. I think she's saying it is black and white. Like I feel like she's saying that Charlie is playing the victim. Is
But
what I
you don't
read from it.
believe, like, surely you don't believe that. Like, after the
I don't.
Tortured Poets Department and seeing how torn up she was about the Maddie situation,
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't think that this is as black and white as she makes it out to be here.
I don't know. Obviously, I'm just going off
Obviously,
lyrics
both of
she
us don't know.
says.
Hang on, let me call Charlie.
But yeah, I do think it's so
Let
interesting,
me
and I
get
think
George on the phone.
let me get George on. I think most people share your view, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see it being about that song. I think she just throws that line in there to like add something to the narrative of she's literally calling me boring and tacky and like all this
Yeah.
stuff and like high-fiving about getting rid of me when she was obviously so heartbroken. So she just
Yeah.
sounds really hurt by it. And she does go into that childish victim schoolyard thing, which she always does. And like, yeah, it is really tiring. But I kind of do think I don't know why
I
I'm
don't know
like
why I'm
defending
like
her on this,
Betty,
but I
Betty,
just feel a
Betty,
bit like
Betty.
she's allowed to do
Yeah.
that. I feel like
I think she's allowed to do it. I don't have any
yeah.
issues about that. It's just the way that she like treats it. Also, saying that Charlie's calling her tacky, I feel like tackiness is such a big part of Charlie's brand. So, like, I just really don't believe that she's firing that back at Taylor because I think Charlie would find tacky a compliment.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I think this and then the 1-2 punch of cancelled, I was like, this is so annoying
Cancelled
because
is
you had
really
such an opportunity
yeah.
to give people this like view of what's going on in your world right now, and we keep falling back on these tropes that are like the most annoying parts of her songwriting, like vigilante shit off
Yeah.
Midnights.
Yeah.
It's really giving that. Cancelled like had me really annoyed again.
Yeah. Wait, I'm trying
Also,
to
I
look
was
at
like,
some of the
what are you
lyrics.
trying to say on this song on cancelled? Because is it a good thing that all your friends are cancelled?
Wait, one of the lyrics is, "Did you girl boss too close to the sun?" That is really a really funny line.
I'm
Um,
really enjoying your perspective on this because usually when we've gone back and forth on Taylor albums in the past, I'm the real defender and you're the
yeah,
one who's knocking it down, and it's the opposite here. I
I
need to say though that like we're just giving our highlights and lowlights right now, and obviously cancelled and actually romantic have really rubbed me the wrong way, but they're
yeah,
not indicative of how I feel about the album as a whole.
yeah, fair. Cancelled's really bad. I don't really know what she's trying to say either. I'm trying to read the lyrics because obviously I've only listened to it a couple of times. Um,
Like good thing I like my friends cancelled. I'm like, that's giving some like real right wing kind of
yeah,
vibes that I don't love.
I
I
salute.
like them cloaked in Gucci and in Scandal. Like, what? Do those things go hand in hand? Are people who are cancelled? I think Gucci did get cancelled at one point. So,
Did they?
I mean,
I
surely.
honestly don't know what this. I mean, I'm sure I could just go into a Reddit thread and someone will have dissected it. I should have done that before. But yeah, cancel doesn't work for me either. But that's the only one really that doesn't work, I think. Actually, romantic is not a highlight for me, but it doesn't detract from the album, unlike for you.
Interesting. Okay, I'm glad that we've got this different view because it's rare that a song will really rub me up the wrong way like that one. I
Yeah,
think I think what I'm such a fan of the way that Taylor Swift has written music in the past couple years, and Tortured Poets Department, for all its shortfalls and the fact that it was too long and like a real data dump, there was some really interesting songwriting on that album. And her honesty with the way that she talked about the Maddie Healy situation, and also just talked about like how her fans have affected her and like how the loneliness of that like whole tour when she kind of pitched to us this whole like showgirl aesthetic, I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting
yeah,
with this new kind of honesty that's coming through in her songwriting to hear that translated through the lens of Max Martin and also at the end of the Eras tour. And I just don't feel like we get that at any point, really,
the theme
apart
may
from
as
the
well have
closeout.
the theme may as well have been anything that she randomized because it's not showgirl at all for me.
No, it's not Showgirl whatsoever. Even her use of Elizabeth Taylor, which I was like, oh, here's the point at which she's going to compare herself to kind of like showgirls of the past who have been
Yeah,
really in the spotlight and been really like hated on and had to put up with the scrutiny. And she just uses it as some like throwaway reference. It's so interesting.
yeah, that is so true. It could have been so fun to hear because that is an insight into her life. It's like what she did with Clara Bow, where it's like looking at
Exactly.
these previous people, because if you were her, that's what you'd do. You'd be like, fuck, who am I looking at as a blueprint for my life? Because no one has this life that I do.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That is really true. That would have been really more interesting for her to go down and
We
actually
just
go
don't
find a
get it at
piano.
enough points, like how it is to be probably the most famous person on the planet right now, to have wrapped up this tour that took up 2 years of your life, and in that process you like fell in love and now you're engaged. Like, I want to know how that exactly feels. And I actually think she kind of does a better job on Reputation at being like, there is so much noise about me right now, but like I'm zeroing in on this like relationship that's making me feel good. And we
Yeah.
don't really get that apart from on Wish List, where she talks specifically about this life she envisions for her and Travis, which is kind of impossible given the fame that they both attract, um, which I just find so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It is.
um,
She does it really successfully on the Reputation, where it's like the terrible things, and then she obviously finds love through it all. It's the theme of Reputation is really strong. I don't think the theme of this Showgirl
it's not
isn't even
strong.
there.
And what's also not strong is like her and Max coming together to like showcase the sound that they've built together, because I was like, you could sub in Jack Antonoff for at least 8 of these songs quite easily, I think.
I think you could, but I do think the melodies and hooks are so much stronger. I actually saw a review that said they weren't, and I think there's no space in any song where there's not some kind of melodic rhythm. Whereas I do think sometimes in Jack, he does it well when you give space for like a
Mm.
melody or instruments or her voice, but sometimes it's missing that for me. So I think that is
You
the
might,
difference.
yeah, that might be right. And it might just be a personal taste thing in that. But I do think that like The Fate of Ophelia, Opalite, and Wood in particular, I don't think Jack Antonoff could have pulled
No.
the gold out of those. However, something like Eldest Daughter, I'm like, oh, this really could have done with Jack's touch. He just has a way of like making things feel a little bit more emotional. And
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
think that's I don't want to put that as a criticism on Max, because I actually think on Eternal Sunshine, he does a very good job at like really maximalizing the really emotional points of that record. Um, but I just feel like here I never, as much as from start to finish I enjoy it and I'll pop it on like no problem, I never feel like a like kind
Gut
of like,
punch.
oh, this is really getting me now, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Does anything at any point like pull that response from you?
No, not at all. But I think that's the point, really. I think it's probably just the album's been missold, and I haven't really looked at any of the run up to this album. So
So
I
you're just loving
literally,
it in your
when I
bubble
saw,
of oblivion.
because the rollout just seemed messy, and I was like, I can't be bothered. I'll just listen to the album when it comes
I
out.
checked out at some point as well because it was
Yeah,
starting to get exhausting.
and also I do have some Taylor fatigue because she's
Yeah.
producing so much music, not of her, just of one person dominating. It would be anyone. It's like what happened with, well, that's probably a bad comparison, but kind of with Drake, where I was like, oh, again, like it's just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just an effect of saturation, not a personal thing.
Do you think that this is different enough to Midnight's and the Tortured Poets department to warrant this like rebrand as like, I'm going back to pop and I'm working with Max Martin and Shellback?
I think this is so similar to Midnight's, but it's
Yeah.
just done better, in my opinion. Which I don't think many people will share on like first listen.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Midnight's at all, but there is some moments on it that I really like what they do with the vocal production, like on something like Midnight Rain, I really love. And
Yeah,
there's not that kind of experimentation on this album. It's a much more straightforward record.
there's
But I don't
no
think I could.
no risks were taken on this record. It's the
None
least
whatsoever.
risk. The biggest risk she took was calling it Life of a Showgirl and doing the visuals because
The biggest risk she took was using the word dick on track 4 and then making an entire song about Travis Kelce's penis.
yeah, sorry, maybe no risks is not fair. It's a very confident album because she
It's
is
so
very
confident.
confident in what she's
Yeah.
saying and the words she chooses to use.
Which might actually be the best way to reframe it, because obviously being on that stage for 2 years and then like finding the love of your life, who's also like a multiple time Super Bowl winner, must be such a confidence boost.
Yeah.
And it's given that the Tortured Poets department, she sounded really down and out. And I was like, wow, she is kind of like, this tour is actually kind of tearing her apart. It is nice to hear her like chest puffed, just like enjoying the moment.
Yeah. Our friend, I was messaging our friend Haley actually because she was asking what I thought, and she said it seems like same as Lover, where she is happy, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that I definitely agree with that, where it's um she's in that position, like you just said. She's definitely in a happy position. She's
Yeah.
confident compared tortured. Yeah, she was tortured.
There was even the way she put that many tracks on it. I'm like, this is giving manic episode, which turns out I absolutely love, because that's like continues to be like one of my more listened to Taylor Swift albums now.
Yeah.
The first part, I just cut the second part. But Haley, who you're speaking of, is actually the person who changed my mind on Taylor Swift back in the day, because I was a big anti Taylor Swift. I'm talking like Fearless era, like this is a long
Yeah.
time ago. But she got me into Red, the song. So shout out Haley.
Shout out Haley.
Shout out Haley for getting me on this Taylor Swift train. I think what I've realized in listening to this album is I actually like Taylor Swift a lot more than maybe I even realized, because I have great affection for the Tortured Poets department, and I really, really love Folklore and Evermore a lot. And I also love Lover. I love Reputation. I love Red. Like, there's so much I love. And I think when she is in auto drive, that's when I start to get a little bit frustrated, because I can see the moments in this album where she could have pushed it a little bit more, or lyrically, she could have got a little bit more in depth. And it's the issue I had with Midnights as well, where I was always like, oh, you're almost there. Like, you're just keep going. You're almost there. Which is frustrating for me listening to this, because it does coast at so many different points. But her coasting, that said, her coasting is way better than other artists coasting, because there's so many artists who could have done this at the peak of their powers and it would have sounded really shit and lazy. And I don't think it sounds shit and lazy at all. I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy this. I just think like the 10 out of 10 reviews, I saw Rolling Stone gave it full marks and Variety did as well. And that's just not like, I listened to Ray of Light this week for the first time in ages, and I was like, this is like what would light a fire underneath you. Like, it's so daring and so just like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And this is just not that at all. Not that it has to be Ray of Light, but like it's not a full marks record.
No, I totally agree. Full Marks record just seems like complete pandering because it's not. And also with that Ray of Light comment, I agree because Taylor's done that. Where she took a huge risk with 1989. She wasn't doing maximalist pop before. That's why it was so successful, because the music was good and it was a huge risk. Same with Folklore. It was a massive risk to do this like really stripped back album, and again it was done really well. I don't think Midnight's for me, Tortured either, or this have any big risks taken in terms of the music itself and the kind of angle she's taking. That's why Madonna has always done so well. She always is one of the biggest risk takers. Like Bedtime Stories was a huge risk, and Ray of Light was a huge risk, but Ray of Light, the music matched it, so it paid off so well. That's a 10
and
out of 10
Madam
album.
X. I do think that every like 4 Taylor Swift albums, she like needs to shake things up a
Yeah.
bit. And particularly right now where she's really overexposed,
Yeah.
I think this album to really change people's mind in the way that Folklore in 1989 did, it needed to be way more dramatic of a change than it is. Whereas I think that Swifties who have been enjoying what she's been doing the last couple of years are going to like this
Yeah.
because it's more of the same, really, kind of dressed up differently. And I think that what I was perhaps expecting was that by moving away from Jack and Aaron, we were going to get something totally different. And we just don't. Instead, we just
Yeah.
get three people that are really, really good at writing pop songs. And like, there's some really, really good pop songs on here. But
Yeah.
like, there's nothing that you hear that you're like, oh shit, like, wow, we're doing something different here.
No, and there's also no Cruel Summer on it. But I do think I just really prefer her with Max and Shellback because even like
Like,
this is better for me than Midnight's Untortured. So I just feel like I don't know. I honestly don't even know why, apart from the melody and the hooks. I'm talking about the
Yeah.
music, not the lyricism, which is a slightly different point. Because I know some people talk.
girl boss too close to the sound.
But yeah, musically, I think this is better than those albums for sure. Probably on par with Lover for me in terms of songs.
Okay, that's definitely a massive personal taste thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I feel differently in that I put Tortured Poets up much higher than this. And I think largely probably enjoy Jack's work with her a lot more, but I do think that it was time for a switch up. I'm just interested that the switch up didn't really change too much.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're definitely
is-
right. Yeah. Because
But
everyone was like,
you're right in comparing it to Lover, in that that album didn't feel like she was changing too much. It was like a real progression from what she'd been doing and kind of a combo of the three records that came before it. And
Yeah.
this kind of feels like that as well. There's a little bit of like folklore songwriting in it. There's a lot of Midnights in it. And there's definitely some Lover in it as well.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you would, when it was like Max and Shellback, it was like, oh my God, this is gonna like be completely different. And you're right, it's not at all.
No.
Like, it's just really good songwriters. But I
The
think
first 10 seconds of Fate of Ophelia, I was like, I just dropped that like expectation. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, we're right back in it.
yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
where would you put it? Like, obviously we've only listened a few times and it will change. Where would you put it in the lineup of Taylor Swift albums at the moment? What's
I
your
would-
number one?
My number one's 1989.
Okay, that's my number two.
And then my number two, I think, personally, is Reputation, and then it would go Folklore number three. But those three are like clear favorites for me. Like,
They're so good. That's
out.
my top three as well.
Yeah.
Oh, not
standouts.
Reputation. Sorry, I'd swap Red out for Reputation.
Oh,
but
yeah, fine. I think this would sit with maybe below Red and Lover. So maybe like sixth.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I just feel like if I was in a car, I would put this album on and I would be humming along because I enjoy all the melodies. I wouldn't be singing any of the lyrics because I don't really like many of them. But I think it's probably like Sabrina's album. I think it's done well. I feel like people are like trashing it kind of like they did Sabrina's. And I think
Yeah,
it's
they'll
like,
come around. However,
really good
the
album.
Sabrina album is so good in my opinion now. I've listened to it like once a day since it came out. I think it's so
Really?
good. Yeah.
I need to listen to it more. I feel like there's been so much that's come out. I'm like, to be
It's been really busy. It's just that I've had a lot of car trips recently that I've actually had the chance to like listen to Doja and like Olivia and stuff a lot. But that's coming to an end, so I'll probably never listen to this album again.
I've been listening to Doja, Olivia, and Jade a lot, but I should throw Sabrina's Man's Best Friend into the mix. What do you think about where does this sit for you, this album, Taylor album?
I I think it sits just above Midnights. It's Fearless, Midnights, and Debut are my least favorite. And it probably sits just above that. I'm a big Lover fan, so it would be hard for me to push it above that. But it's early days. I do agree with you in that this would be a really easy one to just throw on because so many of her albums recently, actually almost since 1989, have been quite a commitment to get through. And this feels like the least like commitment of a Taylor Swift album. 12 tracks, like it whips by pretty quick. There's no like really jarring moments. Obviously, I'll get rid of like Actually Romantic from the track list for me. But yeah, it really just like is an easy listen, which you can't say of any of her records recently. Even Midnights, for it not being an overly daring album, I wouldn't call an easy
No, I wouldn't
listen,
throw that on.
particularly when you like add the vault tracks to it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this is like, oh, finally just like a really delectable 12 set Taylor Swift album.
Yeah.
And maybe that will actually end up pushing it up because it will be something that I'll return to. But we'll see. Like, it's such early days. Anybody calling this album terrible or amazing is either a stan or a hater.
Yeah,
right now.
I completely agree with that. I think not a truer word has been said because it's definitely, I don't know, like a B plus, and I feel like if you're saying it's A plus or anything lower than a C,
You're
you
just exposing yourself as like having such a bias. The first comment on my thing was album of the year, and I was like, to be honest, the Grammys has probably done the same thing. They've sealed up the envelope this morning. They're like, yep, she's due one.
Oh, it's so
But I
good.
wonder, like, how do you feel like it compares to some of the major pop albums that we've had this year when you think of like Gaga, Bieber, Sabrina?
Well, I just forgot Bieber's album existed, so probably higher than that one. It definitely sits with Sabrina,
Demi
probably
Lovato.
like Doja as well for me. Maybe Doja's actually a bit higher, but I think they're albums which I think are 7s or 8s out of 10 for this year,
Yeah.
and I
Both
think
like frustratingly comfortable, this and the Doja album, I feel like. Because there was
yeah,
so many albums too with V. I like V more than I likes this based off first listen.
yeah,
But there was so many times where I was like, come on, just like I
yeah.
wanted to shake her. I'm like, I know that you're like absolutely feral. I mean that in the highest compliment possible. I just wanted to hear some of that.
Do you think this being like? Do you think this is a consequence of her being on the road, making an album that doesn't have those huge ups and downs? Like, it doesn't have emotional gut punches, and it doesn't have some crazy up tempo, huge, like even like a Cruel Summer. It doesn't have it. Do you think that's because she doesn't want to perform it for 3 hours, like for the rest of her life? Like,
Potentially.
I don't
I mean,
know.
she said she doesn't want to perform this. Like, she said on a radio interview this morning that she doesn't plan on touring anytime soon.
It's not a touring album.
But at the same time, at the same time, I wonder how you can't see the response to Cruel Summer on that tour and be like, oh, I want some more of that, you know?
But do you think that will come in a next album?
I hope so, but like I feel like I've been saying that for the last 3 of her albums.
Yeah.
That said, live Midnights did, you won't remember this because it was at the end, but Midnights did stand up more as an arena, like stadium album than I thought it did when I listened to it, like on the record. So maybe
Yeah.
these songs could be brought to life.
Yeah, that is true. But what's she gonna do? Parade around in a showgirl outfit while she's singing Are You Girl Bossing Too Close to the Sun? I don't think that fits in the slightest.
It really does not. Think of Bejeweled. I'm like, Bejeweled did a better job at fitting the showgirl theme. Like,
Yeah.
how on earth would Dita Von Teese dance to any of these songs? Dita having a little shimmy to Actually Romantic. Like, I think
Imagine Taylor comes on
Swag and Swag
stage.
2 is more showgirl than
Yeah.
these two.
Taylor just comes on stage, racks a line of coke, and then is like naked in this huge martini glass, being actually romantic. That's what I was picturing for this tour. But maybe she is one of the most clever artists, and I think lots of people don't. I know you obviously do, but I think lots of people don't give her enough credit for how smart she is. So I wouldn't be
No.
surprised if she has a 3 album run planned where she's recorded some absolute huge camp bangers and that she
Yeah.
just said, I'm not putting it on this album. And she'll give us an album in 2 years that has that. And then she'll tour combining all of them. I don't know.
That's actually not a bad analysis, I feel like. If she planned on not touring this album.
You sounding so surprised. That's actually not a bad analysis from you because everything else you've said
quite good,
is
actually.
rubbish.
That said, why didn't she save this theme for then? Because it is such a good theme. It's
Yeah,
actually genius to come off the back of the biggest tour of all time and then have an album called The Life of a Showgirl. Like, so good.
yeah,
Maybe that's where most of my frustration is, that it's just feels like a wasted opportunity.
yeah, definitely. But maybe it's
However,
because
you
of
are
this
right that she
album.
is so smart. And anybody who talks about Taylor Swift, like this whole thing has just been a massive like fluke that she's gotten to this point and that she's had the last couple years that she has. Like, just sit down and like use some critical thinking for a
Yeah,
minute, because everything has been so meticulously planned, and she didn't get to this point by making a 1989. She got to this point by making Folklore, which is
yeah,
the most incredible thing about it all. Like, there have been so many highs in the past half decade for Taylor
yeah,
that not many other artists, maybe Beyonce being the only other one and Gaga, can claim. Like,
yeah.
it's been a really, really stunning run, and if this brings it to an end, like, it's legendary. It'll go down in history.
Also, but what do you think she can do? Because do you think she's a bit chained in a way, like a
Rack
victim
a
of her
line of coke and
success?
get into a martini glass half naked.
Genuinely, maybe. Like, if I was talking to her about what to do, I'd probably say do whatever you want because whatever we try is not going to work in terms of
No,
like something.
people are gonna hate and love everything she does at this point. So the real battle is like with herself and pushing herself artistically. And I do think that this album shows that potentially she's coasting a bit at this point. I mean, she's been coasting for the last couple records, I would say. Sonically, I think the Tortured Poets Department got a little bit more knotty lyrically, but
Yeah,
yeah, I wonder at this point, like, I feel like she has to take a couple years. She's not going to be on tour now. Go back to the drawing board and be like, how do I really shock people? Because in order to get the moment she had with the Eras tour, something's going to have to be really in people's face in
yeah,
a like almost uncomfy way. And this album does not do that.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Her next album will be called Glamour and Grief, and it will be 7 songs of like huge, high, up tempo martini glasses, and then 7 songs where she talks about the
This
most
is
heart-wrenching
literally just
things.
Marina's Love and Fear, which was famously a huge flop for her.
Me being like, I've come up with this good concept, and you're like, Marina tried and failed.
And it didn't work. All things considered, I think, given that we're just naturally harder on Taylor because of what she's achieved and how much overexposure she's got,
Yeah,
it's a pretty good pop album, I would say.
same.
Um, I'm happy to listen to it. I'm happy to have it. I feel like you feel the same way.
Definitely. And I do see why people wouldn't like it totally. Like, I'm not surprised if anyone's like, this is a 2 out of 5 stars, but that's not for me, it's much higher. I would say a 3.5 out of 5, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like we sit pretty similarly. I
Yeah.
know that one of our other good friends, Nick, has
Hates
probably
it.
listened to the first 10 seconds of Actually Romantic and is now telling everybody it's the worst album of the year. And there's going to be a lot of people doing the same thing.
He literally messaged 5 minutes before I joined this and said the album is a snooze. And said about the Charlie one, it's fucking bonkers and objectively such a terrible song. So you predicted exactly what he was going to say.
So there we go. Nick didn't know that he was going to have a review spot on the Pop Pod today, but he's had his moment.
We can't
We're
say
just
his last
opening
name
the
because
floor
he'll
to
get
friends on
doxxed.
this episode. We've had a Haley, the Swiftie, Nick, the Charlie Stan, and Taylor Hader. Who else can we get?
Literally.
Mum came into the kitchen this morning and told me not to be too mean. So that was her 2 cents.
Oh my god. I don't think you are too mean. Also, I saw someone, was it about Taylor or something? I saw someone comment being like, you're biasly positive towards Taylor. I was like, I don't think you've ever been biasly positive towards Taylor.
No. And then the next comment was that I'm always shady to her. And I'm like, you can't win. Like, honestly.
Album of the year comment is so funny. People in comments are genuinely the funniest people I've ever seen. It's like on the one that gets me is on every single recipe video on TikTok. Someone's like, what if I'm allergic to air? Can I substitute milk for water? And I'm like, are you honestly trolling or is this legit? Or it's like people on a recipe will comment on a website and they'll be like, I made this, although I substituted the fish sauce for 17 tablespoons of soy sauce and it tasted weird. I'm like, you didn't follow the recipe. And why are you commenting this?
It's also, I've been reading like a lot of Airbnb reviews recently, and the things that they will comment are like so ridiculous, like so crazy. Like the shower's slightly smaller than it looked in the picture. I'm like, that doesn't even warrant a comment, like slightly smaller. Well, they'll be like, we left the window open. There were so many mosquitoes. Yeah, no shit. Like, what are they going to do about that? Move the entire place to somewhere that doesn't have mosquitoes?
This is literally what I mean. Like,
It's the same thing. Like, yeah, of course you hated this album. You don't like her. Don't listen. It's fine.
People are literally like watching you, a music journalist, talk about an album, about the highlights and lowlights, and then they just like album of the year, or you're so biased or whatever. And it's like, I'm actually gonna go comment that 3 times on your post just for the gag.
Album of the year. Comment album of the year, and then comment this album sucks. And I bet they'll both get the same amount of likes, and no one will notice you've commented different things.
I'm gonna do it as a test. I'm never getting likes on my comments anyway.
I'm logging off the internet for the rest of the day. A Swiftie release day is a hell of a place to be. But this has been fun to talk about the life of a showgirl. You guys should comment what you feel. What are your favorite tracks? Are you on my side with Actually Romantic or Jono's side? I'm really interested to see how this album is received, and I would be more interested by what the listeners of this podcast think, because I do think that you perhaps have a little bit more nuance than some of the more extreme people on the internet. So weigh in and let us know. Jono, I'll see you next week. IRL. Next podcast episode is IRL.
IRL. How actually romantic. I can't wait.
Let's try and ruin the friendship. All right. See you all next. Also, we're not doing Bop or Flop today. This was your Bop or Flop.
Oh my god.
And
I looked at New Music Friday just out of curiosity.
yeah.
3 Taylor Swift songs are in the top 15. As in,
Yeah,
like,
I know.
of
Crazy.
Music Friday. I was like, I've never seen this before. This isn't charts. Like, how have you just put? They may as well just put a whole album on it and just said no.
They
one else
actually
has
should, and surely they will just sneak it in by the end of the week. They may as well. There's nothing else. There actually is a few things. There's a new Caroline Polachek and Danielle Hall song, and
Is
there
there?
is the deluxe edition of the Kali Uchis album as well.
Okay.
But we'll add that in next week to like a whole bunch of things and chat about it more in depth. But see you guys next week.